That's where I'm from.
Monk. So Manchester, I don't know the geography, but what, Manchester South? Is it south of
Mm,
London?
no, no. So London is south to us.
Oh, you're
We're
no, yeah.
Yeah, London's a little bit more affluent, shall we say?
I would be much better off. Well, I know I've walked the ground there, no doubt, especially during let's say the difficult dark times. Europe,
Yes.
Cathars and Templars and Druids. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a lot of uh, I guess memory from that. But
So
yeah,
the sorry.
I'm much more comfortable. My soul is much more comfortable in the streets and with the common people. Let's just say that's where most of my time has been. But yeah, so yeah, I'm not into the affluent thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I was born and bred, as you are already aware. In the density, shall we say?
Yeah.
So I
Well,
actually I actually live in Blakely, which is Blackley, which I found out yesterday is black and a bog. It was a whole boggy area.
oh, yeah. It's amazing what am I trying to say? A lot's been made up. Not, I don't mean made up as in
Yeah.
fake. I just mean a lot's been made up in regard to um, the role of UK. The role of the monarchy as a
Yes.
centralized point of the program. Let's just say that. But I think uh, people don't realize. I'm a history buff, and I don't think people realize the energetic epicenter that what we call Great Britain has been, and it's of course far more than that than Great Britain. I mean, we're talking about a lot of stuff: the Irish, the Scottish, the Wales. We're talking about, and it's this island, for all intents and purposes in the modern age. And how does that happen? So there's no doubt that that's one of the major epicenters in our evolution, at least in the last couple of thousand years. But yeah,
Yes.
I love the history there. I know it like the back of my hand. But I can't prove it because in this incarnation I've never been there. But hey, it's good to have you here. We want to
Thank you.
find out. Uh, first thing I want to find out is, have you legally changed your name to make a pathway, Louise?
So that makes me laugh now because I did that 7 years ago. So I chose that Make a Pathway multi-agency partnership. So it's MAP. But I designed that 7 years ago when I wasn't as, we use that label awake, but as awake as I am now. So I've always had and can see now, lived by truth and been very truthful and awake, but not as knowing as I know now. So when
Yeah.
I chose Make a Pathway Louise, that was many, many years ago.
I
And
I
now,
think it's a great name. I love it.
yeah, I
I'm
just think it's got a real big meaning to it now, hasn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Kind of epitomizes all of us, really. And I guess really, you said you were born and bred in the denser environment, right? But I
Still
think
there?
really, yeah,
Still there?
yeah. But I think we all did. I think we all did. Anybody that came here isn't the bourgeois, you know what I mean? I mean, so it's kind of interesting how that fits the collective, at least from my opinion. So this is about you, and I'm happy that you're here. I'm really
Thank you.
happy to see so many divine feminine stepping up and sharing because the codes. the code's been sitting dormant or in the background for too long, and it's been exciting this past month to hear some of these stories. They've been mind blowing.
They really have. The
Yeah.
lady last night, it could have been me speaking. I can't remember her name now, but
Patricia. Patricia.
Patricia, yes. So everything she spoke about with Borstal and Pikeys and all of that, I have a whole personal experience of that myself.
Really? Well,
Yes.
where do you want to start? It's up to you. Whatever you want to do.
So I've been on my healing pathway, shall we say, for just over 2 years. Because just over 2 years ago, I was involved in a car accident where two people transitioned, and shall we say, I'm a miracle walking. So for the last 2 years, I've been on that healing pathway because I had a severe traumatic brain injury, 7 fractures. It was intense, but I can see all of the beauty in all of that. Recognize that most of my family can and won't because of trauma and everything that's attached to that. But I can see, all of the beauty in all of that. And it's been an amazing 2 year healing pathway that's brought me to this place now.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
So were you physically injured at all?
Yeah. So it happened in Greece. So I set up Make a Pathway about 7 years ago. And had worked for that many years, in many communities. When I speak about that, you'll understand. I worked in a whole borough, every priority one area. So after 7 years, I decided to have a bit of a break. And my work colleague, was already going away to Greece, and it happened in Greece. So on the same day I went, I booked to go away for a little bit of sun seeing, relaxation. And I booked the 5 day break. And 3 days in, we'd hired a car. And 3 days in, the car accident happened. I have no memory of that. So it was like, actually, I don't remember any of what happened, which is a blessing. I see that. And then all of my family travelled to Greece because they did a GoFundMe page, and we got like £10,000 because in Greek hospitals they don't have the staff. So I think there was 400 people in the Greek hospital, but there was 4 staff for the whole 400 people. So
Jesus.
yes, so all
And
my family flew over, and they spent 2 months in Greece with me. So I was in a coma for a couple of months, couple of weeks, and then when I come out of the coma, I still can't remember, but I was, up and, should we say, working. I was functional, but my right side was fully not working. I was in a wheelchair for a few months because my right side was completely, my leg, the whole side of it wasn't working. Yes.
wow.
So my daughter had to bath me and stuff. When I flew home from Greece after 2 months, again, that was a miracle because I got help to get onto the plane. And when I say help, I mean a big airlifted truck that took me onto the plane. And thinking about it now, it was all, a wonderful miracle, because when I got back and I eventually seen a neurosurgeon in England, Manchester, they told me that I shouldn't have flew. Like, getting on a plane was not a good move after because I had a big gash on my head, and that was from the car accident. But that was the only kind of, yeah, I'm gonna, sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. That's what we're here for. We're good.
So 2 months after, my family brought me home, and looking back, the usual route would have been for me to go to hospital straight away and be looked after there. But thankfully, my mum took me home to her house. My mum, who lives next door to me, um, and her and my dad, who's 75 now, looked after me. Did night shifts, had to carry me to the toilet, all of that. I
God.
lived at my mum and dad's for 6 months, and then moved back to my house, which is next door to my mum's house.
So this is now 8 months into it. Are you still in a wheelchair?
No, I was out of the wheelchair then. I
So
started to walk.
wow, wow, God. So
I've,
I mean, yeah, the human is the hero. I mean, I don't know what else to say. This is like, were you having were you having any dimensional experiences? Were you getting any messages, or was it just a very, very human experience where it was just you?
so it was human, but I do now see, we call it the universe voice, the God voice, whatever we want to label that.
Mm.
But I had messages. So I was told that I was going to be okay. And actually, COVID then just happened. So I remember the message of everyone's going to catch up now. It's like, okay, it sounds a bit bizarre and but I know you'll understand that.
Yeah,
So,
I
and then the
do.
squirrels started visiting my garden. And again, that was the work, rest and play message for me. And they were they are in my back garden all of the time. They've run through my mum's house. Nature's just been with me for the last 12 months. So robins hatched in my dad's garden in his shed. And we videoed that, 5 robins, and there's 5 of us in our family. And things like that have happened like every other day. It's been very synchronistic and amazing, wonderful.
God, that is amazing. So you said you made a reference to the message that said everyone when COVID came out, and you said everyone's going to catch up now, or that's what you heard. That's what you got, and it feels like what that to me as I listen to it, that I guess to put it bluntly, death isn't real. I mean,
Yes,
you realize that
yes,
it's not real, and
yes.
people will get to that point, is what the message was saying, right?
Awesome. Yeah, I believe that. So my brother currently has stage 4 cancer. And he's been, shall we say, very angry with the world. He's very awake. Been awake for many, many years, but got very angry with that. So obviously when COVID, not obviously, sorry, not sorry. Mm. When COVID started, he got very angry and
Mm,
and I then had to listen to that because he lives next door with my mum. Um, so I recognise how the anger creates our emotions, create that disease. Um, and now he has stage 4 cancer, and I've not been how I would usually act with that. So I honour that and believe, it's our choice,
mm,
and we are self healers, and we all can heal ourselves, and actually we're eternal. So
yeah.
that that removes all of that trauma and sadness, and obviously we still feel our emotions, and that's okay. But I think the message is, if everybody actually knew their true nature and understood the real nature of life, then all of that, upset and trauma that affects families, and the cycle goes around. Because I've watched my mum nurse 4 of her family members to death through cancer. So yeah, and we've then been affected by my mum's trauma through all of that. My mum's the strongest woman I have ever known. My mum is amazing.
Well, I don't think the apple falls far from the tree, obviously.
Well, now you've said that, now you've mentioned that, when I was in hospital, in Greece, I had 3 people who I didn't know come to visit, and they used to sit with me, and they all said they were sent from God. And one of them said I was given an apple by God. So you've just reminded me that.
Yeah, I like that. That's pretty cool. Um, I guess in some way, you're Eve. Well, and your
I
mother,
recognise that a little bit,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't think we get that. I think we're getting it. We're getting everything, right? But I mean, like in every single human is Father God or Mother Goddess. Like your mother is the epitome of Mother Goddess, right? I mean, Mother
Yes.
Mary. I mean, we're all
Yes.
that. That's like like what you're talking about. Like for instance, I put up a funny meme yesterday. I was like, I'm done with the death program. I can kiss my
Yeah,
soul's
I seen
perfect
that.
immaculate ass.
Mine
Well,
too.
yeah, I mean, I think we've always known it, but like the energy now is like walk the talk and like listening to your story, and it happens on this day, first day of September.
Yes. Yes. The
Nine is
ninth
com-
month, yeah.
nine is a completion. So like I guess what I'm saying is like what you got when COVID started and you heard the message, everyone will get what you've got. What you've come to realize, I think that's just the first step. And then the
Yes.
next one's going to be, oh my God, I'm sitting here across from the Mother Goddess, right? And we
Yeah.
start to see each other in our divinity. And like I just feel like we're like this far on the journey. Like it's like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Yeah.
And I tell my mum all of the time how her beauty and her love and the
Mm.
love she gives to everybody is just unmeasurable. Um, and I can now see in Manchester, going off on one, I can see that so many people are, you know, our family. Last night I was at Natasha's house doing fire ceremony and doing some Tai Chi. Um, so all of the natural movements, all of the natural moving forward things that I believe we're all going to be, well,
Yeah.
I'm going to be part of.
I think it's moving a lot faster than even the best of us thought. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
mean, it's pretty cool. It really is. I mean, it's amazing. It's really amazing what's happened. What's happening. You are amazing. What you represent. You represent all of us.
thank you. Well,
You
I
do.
recognise just before my accident, I've been invested in by the social investment business. I recognise all these organisations and yeah, so I've been invested in to kind of redevelop everything I've done over the last 7 years, and redevelop them into a way that the mainstream understood because, bespoke approach, tailored, all of the approaches that I used are not recognised by local authorities and systems, shall we say, and I see all of that now. So just before my accident, that was the redevelopment work that I was going to be doing. So now it feels perfect that this is obviously the perfect time to then completely change, that, yeah, I won't be
So
really connecting with them anymore.
yeah, you know what? See, there's no coincidences. I swear these shows follow they just like follow Yellow Brick Road. But it's
Yes.
like because okay, I woke up this morning. I'm like, and I wanted to put up a post, but I couldn't find, and I didn't have the time. But it was like, uh, and I'm. This is not. You got to understand. Of course, I probably don't have to explain this to this community, but it's like I'm coming from where you're coming from. I'm not a citizen of the United States. Nobody asked my permission. So none of your laws, none of your rules, none of your bullshit applies to me. And in fact, that goes for everything. I am what I am. I am you. And so I think what I'm trying to say is I think you're not engaging those elements that you're referring to, because they have no authority with you, right? So I think this type of revelation, and which will then become an embodiment, is taken off in this world, big time, big time. And I really believe that mother goddess energy, particularly showing up first in these women like you, is leading the way. Like, I've had enough. I saw 2 videos this morning of 2 different women in Australia standing down the police. I mean, just one lady had 5 of them. You're under arrest. You can't arrest me. I'm taking a walk. You can't arrest me. And then she goes on to tell them, and it's not about the story, it's about her energy. And she said, a rule is not a law. An ordinance is not a law. A mandate is not a law. Get the F out of here and leave me alone. And they didn't arrest her. And I'm like, what? This is what the world is contending with. They don't have the controllers, or whatever you want to call them, our beloved brothers and sisters playing that role. They don't stand a chance. They do not stand a chance.
Us knowing our rights, isn't it? It's when we have that information, when we understand our rights, we can then, and I've been able to move forward with that a lot in my life. So at the moment, I've pulled my son out of education. I say pulled him out, but actually he's not been in high school education, shall we say, at all. So his case, again, another label, his case has been one failure after another, after another, after another. So I'm going to electively home educate him. And his story, again, is something that we've personally experienced. But now, I can see how education is really not great at all. And I know he's not a conformist. So actually, he was never going to be in those environments. And I'm really looking forward to his future, because the things he comes out with, his personal knowledge, and he's just, amazing and very unique. So he was picked up to be gifted and talented in maths in year 6, and that's never been picked up by the education system since. But his abilities, geometrics, mathematics, all of that, I can see that he definitely has them abilities.
Mm-hmm. Does he know what planet he's from?
Well, now you've just reminded me, when he was young, I have a friend who's my other director for MAP. She's been a youth worker for 41 years. And her son, he was a ghost hunter, but a very connected man. And when my little boy, let's say little boy, he's 15 now, when he was young, he used to see scary shapes, things, all of that. And I brought Lynn's son, the ghost hunter, to have a chat with him. And he came and he's seen him, and he gave him some crystals, and he worked with him. And that was many years ago. So I recognise that that's available to our children. And, before it's beat out of them, beat's probably not the right word, but you understand what I mean. So I recognise, and as well, so my son's had to watch me be a little bit sad through my recovery, and he's never seen that. Like, never. I'm the strongest woman in the family and do everything for everyone. And so for him to experience me being a little bit tearful and all of that, emotional, he sat with me a few times and spoke openly about God. And it's like, wow, our children are truly amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a feeling that, at least from an energetic standpoint, we're going to switch roles with them. You know what I mean? How did you do it? I mean, you're 2 months in the hospital, you're in a coma, and then 2 months in the hospital, half your body's not working. Then you fly back when you're not supposed to, because you're a superhero. And then you have to convalesce. And you must have had, I mean, because even though we have people around us, we're still alone, right? You know what I
Yes,
mean? Like
very alone.
in that conversation or that communion or with the universe or God, goddess, whatever you want to call it, you're just you got the human standing there going, "What the f is going on here?" But how did you do it?
I feel because my knowing has always been very strong, um, I was okay, and I recognised this was my rest because I laugh now because I was working I love my work. I absolutely loved it, but I was very busy, shall we say, all of the time. Um, so I was just seeing, okay, this is the rest that I was given because, that's what sometimes happens. So I think nature as well, I connected to nature and started going out on my little nature walks. And on one of my nature walks, I seen a stag. So I can laugh now because stags don't, they don't live here or they're never around where I'm from.
That's it. What is that? A big deer? Is that what a stag is?
Yes,
A big male
yes.
deer? Okay, yeah.
But I tried to like run after it then after I seen it and remembered that okay, I don't think I can run after it because it disappeared. So and as well, so where I seen the stag, which is quite unique, amazing. The following day, I took my sister's foster child. So my sister is a foster carer, and she's had her little boy about 4 years now. So he's part of our family. So
Mm.
I took him along on the nature walk, and he literally stood on the spot where I'd seen the stag and just said, "Wow, the UFO landed here," just randomly, and then started talking about the cornfields. And I've been on many walks with him since, and the conversations we have, he just comes out with the colour of Jesus's roses and many, many things. It's, again, amazing.
That's and I really feel like people have talked about the first of the year. They're like, at the end of the year, the world won't look the same. I believe that 100,000%. Even though we only got 4 months left, I still think it's going to be. But it's these types of things. Like we're all caught up in COVID and mandates, and you see the expansion, and you see the pain or the fits and spurts along the way. But I think we think that's the veil. I don't think that's the veil. I think the veil is this boy walking to the same spot that the stag was, and
Like, wow.
saying this is where the UFO landed.
Yes.
I was in Sedona. I was called to the land 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't even know it was the eclipse. And long
Wow.
story short, next thing I know, I'm face to face with the biggest owl I've ever seen. Like
Wow. Wow.
just
One sec.
a few feet away. My
One
point
sec.
is my point is that what was I really looking at? This owl told me. There you go.
The owl's been with me for about 18 months.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is that, like, I remember writing a post years ago in the early days of Soulogy. I used to do those memes, with the pictures and the words, and it was a picture of an airplane, and I said, "How do you know that airplane's not a UFO? How do you know
Yes.
that it's not covering something?" So this owl in Sedona told me that it was a galactic brother in animal form.
Wow.
So like what, you know what I mean? I mean, there's something behind our perception of what the veil is hiding that is
Yes.
way beyond, like even listening to you and the energy of your family. I mean, you guys are, I mean, that's some deep, deep stuff there. And so
Yes.
you have this family that's in Manchester, and it looks like this small little dot on the earth, but it's this huge universe, right?
I feel that. And you just
Yeah.
reminded me, so it takes to trigger my memory now. So Sedona, that's when I connected with you just before Sedona, just before you was doing Soulology. Probably didn't say that right.
That's all
So I'd
right. I love
So
your accent, by the way. I'm gonna have to, if I imitate you, it's not a disrespect. I just think it's very cool. Go ahead.
I would never feel disrespected. So
Mm.
I know quite a few people. Well, I've spoken to quite a few people in family now. So Susanna Mara, I'd spoken to Susanna Mara just before Sedona. So then I remember Sedona happening. I was watching every day and really connected to you, on a real. And that for me, that's been my happiness, shall we say. That's been my getting me through all of this. It's been my time of actually I feel connected and I feel this is, my family, and your shows have been my lifeline, shall we say. So in Sedona, just randomly sat in my bedroom, I had an out of body experience and seeing Grandfather Rock in obviously all the mountains and everything that he was around. And that was the first time, anything like that had happened to me. It only was probably about 5 minutes. But for that, I wanted to be in Sedona. And then when you went on the little walk around Soulogy, that's everything. I've been working with young people and children, the drumming and the sound healing and all of that. It was like, wow, this is something. Yeah, I felt it all. It felt
Wow.
amazing.
Man, that's quite of a that was quite a download. that's that's I don't have anything to say about that. That's just like wow. And then that's
Yeah,
what I'm talking about though. Like this this veil behind the perceived veil, the veil being, let's just say we think the veil is, oh, we're going to find out there's a secret space program, and we're going to find out JFK was a conspiracy, or whatever. But it's not. It's like, what are we really looking at? What did you actually experience with your family when this kid walked to the spot where the stag was? I mean, when the lenses come off, what really just happened there? And then with this story about the Soulogy Fest, and you're having that experience,
yeah.
like
And this,
the connectivity of it, it really, there is no space really. I mean, it really is. This is what's coming into our field. We're together right now. I'm right
yes,
next to you. Like,
yes.
and I know it sounds like a cliche, right? It sounds like some kind of, but it's not. And we're getting it. And that's just amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. And the small boy who said about the UFO and everything, he brings me pictures of unicorns all coloured in, unicorn key rings. He just knocks on my door and presents them. And my life, actually, my household is full of beautiful gifts like that. I have them everywhere. I say it's like a bit of a story, no, a bit of a storybook. It is like if I sent you all the pictures of everything, it's like, wow, okay.
It's
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I get it. It's enchanting. It's
Yes.
enchanting. It's you're, I don't know, whatever you are. Yeah, you're everything. But like what's coming out? Fairy, elemental. I mean, unicorns. This is the third day in a row people have brought up unicorns on this show.
Well,
I
I
mean,
have unicorn bedding, unicorn pillows, unicorn teddies, and I recognise now our imagination. So my mum's imagination has always been very powerful. She's been talking to the doves in the tree in her garden for years and years. Um, and I see that's how we create, our imagination, and that's all very real, isn't it? It's what we've not been led to believe in the
that's
past.
true. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's to me our greatest superpower. That's the goddess in us. That's the creator.
Yes.
You know, we think
So
that.
my sister bought a statue last week
Mm,
from the garden centre and said to me, "What do you want to call her?" So I said, "Martha." It just came to me. It was like, "Martha, okay." I said, "But you don't need to call her Martha if you don't want to." So she called her Martha. So I went into my mum's house and said, "Donna's just got a statue. It's called Martha." And my mum just sat back and was really taken back. And then she shared that her guardian angel was Martha, and that's her guardian angel that she talks to the doves for all of us, all of her children. There's 3 of us. And that's when she shared all of that. So it was like, wow.
That's see, and then we want to go, oh, well, that's just a coincidence, or the kid going to that spot, that's a coincidence, right? But these things are not going away. In fact, you know, everything's getting so distorted that we can no longer look at those things and go with any type of, I guess, loyalty to the storyline, such as the things that are happening around the world. They're getting stupid. So what's going to replace that? It's no different than us. And you know this firsthand, I would imagine, through your transformation. Like, you know, I'm getting rid of this. I'm getting rid of this because it doesn't apply to me. And then
Yes.
something's going to fill in. The truth will fill in, but to actually experience, to even think about experiencing these things in the physical body, consciously awake. I mean, who's going to be the first to ride a unicorn in the physical body? The first one that's from their creator seed, from their imagination, is able to see that unicorn that's standing right next to him. I guess, you know. I mean, this is mind blowing. Where we're headed, where we're at.
I have said a few times, you know, I want to jump on my unicorn and get out of here. So who knows? It might be me.
Yeah. No, I think so. Look, we're doing it. I mean, we go to sleep every day that goes by. More and more people are saying, "Hey, I saw you in my dream last night, and you know, you came in on a magic carpet and handed me a crystal." Or you know, you hear people back and forth talking about how they're meeting in dream, what we call dream state, but it's no dream.
Yes.
You know, I'm sitting here in the last few weeks, averaging probably 2 to maybe 4 hours of sleep a night. Many nights it'd be like last night. Perfect example. I go to sleep early for me. I wake up an hour and 10 minutes later. I go back to sleep. I'm sweating so bad, you know, purging, that I feel like I peed the bed. Like, and this happened all night long. I couldn't even find a dry spot. But my point is, I'm going, why do I even have to sleep? And I hear like, well, you're not going to. You're not going to be sleeping anymore. So, I mean, this is awesome.
And I feel now, you know, when it's sleep time, shall we say, it's just time to go and experience what we need to experience. So yeah, I understand that completely. And my, shall we say, routine of having to get up at a certain time and having to, because that's the programming, that was all broken through this as well. So I can see the beauty in all of that. But I have naturally been getting up a lot earlier, because for a long while, probably late afternoon, but I see all of that. All of my programming's been broken, like not broken, taken away, and I see the beauty in all of that now. So when I had the brain injury, the brain specialist told me that all of my files had been removed, and they all needed to be refiled. So I got the, I say, pleasure of experiencing all of that. So for the first 6 months, I probably didn't even think from in the morning till at the night, nothing was happening. And then I could see all the connections coming back and how our brain actually, you know, our monkey brain, shall we say, how all of that works. So I can understand that now. So I have real lived experience of that. And before I say accident incident happened, because nothing's an accident, and before that, I had a lot of information in my head because I'd worked with, say, hundreds of young people and families, and had all their files in my, because I used to remember everything, like absolutely, well, label it ADHD brain, but anything I'd remember. So I had a heavy head with a lot of information, and I recognised before the accident I'd actually asked for all of that to be taken, And then, everything else happened. So it was like, okay. And now I don't have all that information. If I want to access something, somebody gives me a little trigger, I remember. But actually now I have quite a meditative state all of the time, which is wonderful.
So you remember what you need to when you need to,
Yes,
basically.
exactly that.
And
Mindfulness.
I think that's how we're you listen to people like this year especially, they're like going, oh my God, the downloads are coming in, it used to be once a month and now they're coming in like 10 times a day. And we're going, what was that one about? And what was that about? And then they're just coming in so fast, you just accept it.
And then,
Whatever it is, whatever it is, you're going to get what you need when you need it, right? So you're actually embodying that through your journey as well. You got so many nuggets of gold in your story.
yes, thank you. And
You
I
do.
listen to your shows, and that's really helped me because actually I've recognized, okay, that's just how they
I
are.
I know that you always have. Well, I can only speak for myself, but I think people can relate. See, especially over the last 10 years, and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing this for? I mean, I don't even want to be here sometimes, and you go through all that stuff, right? And but I've noticed that lately, um, there's first of all, I'm noticing a couple things. One, that there's let's say there's 100 people in the live, like right now there's 90 people. uh 12 of them will make comments. I always wondered, who are those other people and why don't they ever say anything? And now they're starting to speak. It's almost like
Yes,
they wanted to be anonymous because of, like, I listen to what you're saying and it brings me great joy to even have one person gain, right? But it's more than that. I can feel it. And it's not about Soulogy, it's about the whole collective energy. So these people, I think, are starting to step up because they feel safe, right? They feel like that they can do it now. Um, and so that's a good feeling. I appreciate you sharing that with me. And that Soulogy Fest experience is phenomenal. Like, not about Soulogy, but about what's happening. For you to be able to
yes.
tap in, have an incredible dimensional experience. And I mean, it just speaks to me. It speaks to what's happening in the world.
I was wanting to get on a plane and travel there, and I will be doing in the future.
Yeah. Oh, I think we'll be able to go wherever we want, whenever we want. As just
Definitely.
as, but I just got to say this. I don't want to be on my soapbox, but we'll be able to go wherever we want, whenever we want. J- but not until we stop engaging the structure of this false matrix. It's like
Yes.
Stockholm syndrome. It's like Stockholm syndrome. Oh, well, we'll let you come out of your house now. We'll let you travel over here. Fuck that shit. I
Yes.
don't recognize these borders. I don't recognize your driver's licenses or your passports. I mean, seriously, how can I ever come to you in the physical, call it teleportation, whatever you want? How can you ever go to Sedona like you do in your dreams when you fly through the sky if you're going to give your power away, or I'm going to give my power away to the thought that that's even real and they have any power over me? It's not even about they, it's about me. So these things that you're talking about, unicorns, a spaceship landing through the messenger of this beautiful little boy where a stag stood that stags don't even go. I mean, these are the stories. The dragon riders, somebody mentioned that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's all falling down, including our deepest beliefs after we awakened. Even the things that helped us wake up. So, this is just amazing. And to think that we could talk about unicorns and fairies and galactic brothers and sisters, that we can talk about this openly now.
Yes.
That's all it takes. It's the stories. It's the
Oh,
stories have more code than anything else.
with you mentioning fairies, so my old school. Shall I switch my lights on? Are you okay? I've just recognised it's really dark here. Are we okay?
Oh, I thought you were just disappearing. No, you
Probably.
can
Ah, do
if
you know
you
what?
if
I think you're right. I think you're right because actually it's quite light outside and the window's wide open.
yeah, I don't know what happened. but everything is code, and I'm sure there's a reason for it, whether we are conscious of it or not.
Yes. And now I forgot what I was going to say. But okay, that's okay.
You were talking about the fairies. I
Oh
think you were
yeah.
talking.
So my old school friend, so he was a friend of mine and my brother's at school. He just turned up on my doorstep about 2 months ago, because he wanted to come along to the fire ceremony that I was going to. So he'd seen it and then he contacted me. So he turned up and he's, been around since, and he's brought his children, and his children are just wonderful. And his little girl, only about a week ago, said that she'd just seen a fairy flying down the ginnel at the side of my house. And again, because I'm fully surrounded by all of this now, it was just beautiful for her to say that because I recognise our children, we've not been having any conversations about fairies or anything. She just said, oh, fairies just flew down there. And they've all been getting crystals recently. I bought her a crystal love heart. Yeah, so I recognise that the future generations in my world will be looking at crystals and connecting to nature and the earth and doing all the natural things that we should be doing.
Well, that's right, natural. That's
Yes.
natural, and then it's such an easy. You know what? I think they want you to turn the light on.
One sec.
I think they want to see your face. She'll probably come back with a unicorn face. Hmm. I see you. I remember you.
And now what's happened since I've stepped back into the world, because I've not been in the world, shall we say, for 2 years, and now I've stepped back in, all of my connections and people I'm meeting are wonderful and amazing. So last week, and it connects to you, um, last week I went to meet the urban poet, and he works with the homeless. And yeah, it's just been everyone who I've met has been like amazing, wonderful. So I can see that world is, you know, being created and it's all around me now. So all of my connections are again part of our family.
Hmm. I want to say that. Famila. How do you
Family.
say it? Famila. A Texan trying to speak Monk, or what do you call it? Mank?
Mank. Mank.
Mank.
Proper mank.
Mank. Mank.
Proper mank.
Proper.
Proper.
Yeah. Proper. It's funny
So,
because Morgan's Australian, and some of those words, or they're similar, but they're not the same. But I mean, to the British, but it's pretty interesting the way y'all end some words, like the sound y'all end. Ah, for us would be e.
and you
Yeah.
just reminded me when I went to work for Stockport Council, um, they're an affluent area, so they're a little bit more affluent. So
Hmm.
I used to say my P's and Q's and put on a little bit of a twang. So when I had my accident, my son recognised that I was now speaking proper Manc, and actually all of that, P's and Q's that I used to put on that little bit of a fake voice sometimes, all that has gone. And I recognize how much, beauty is in that, and the connection, and actually, this is where I'm from and this is how we speak. And seeing my son be able to recognize that in me as well was, wonderful.
Yeah, leave it to the kids to keep you to get you straight, right? Like,
Yes.
I always wondered when I was a kid and one of my parents would answer the phone. So they would have this regular voice, but as soon as they answered the phone, they would turn into this other person. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, how are you doing? Who's that person that just stepped into my father's body,
But I recognise
Ah,
where I went to work in that area, because I work with all of the children and young people. They really, got on with me, and I could connect with them. Whereas a lot of the service staff, some of them, amazing people, but very middle class and
mhm.
judgment labels, all of that. So they couldn't connect with the young people. And I recognised, because I was from Mank and I was a
Monk,
proper Mank, then I
Papa Mank.
could make that connection, because, real, real connects with real.
Wow. Yeah, well, I think it's also your frequency too, because I would imagine those people you were talking about are very rigid. You can't function in that distorted matrix that's being disassembled without being very rigid. I mean, it's all there is to it. I mean, look at what's going on now. I mean, and I love what's happening now too, because it's like there is no middle ground. You either, you know what I mean? The universe is forcing us to stand in our truth, whatever that may be, and yours may be different than mine, right? I mean, but you can't do it a little bit. You can't even do it 80%. You got to do it 100%, one way or the other, whatever the issue is. Wow, you're
Yes.
beautiful. You're just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
You are amazing. Like, I can't even begin to think. The more that this month has gone on, since Morgan said we got to do the hero's journey. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, especially if it's women, because they don't talk much. And then I started to realize, wait a minute, Soulogy's always been about the hero's journey, really. I mean, it really has, and that's powerful. That's a powerful thing, to hear somebody say, and some of these other stories, even in the past week. I mean, a woman comes on and she's being told by a deity that she's going to have immaculate conception, and she has a beautiful baby. And 2.5 years later, he transitions, but he comes to her, and she's talking about this story. And I'm crying.
Yeah, I
But
connected with that too. Yeah.
you know what I mean? But it's like the tears aren't. I mean, there's a part of you that goes, "Wow, how did you go through that? How did you be in Greece, not even your own country, and then there's a miracle, and your whole family can come, and you start to look at the miracle, and
Yes.
not and so the stories, listening to these stories, uh, not from the point of victim consciousness, but from a position of power. That's what I'm watching happen, and it's amazing, because just in being an observer, you get lit up. I'd much rather hear this than get another channeling from Archangel Michael. Nothing against Archangel Michael, but my sister and myself and my brothers and sisters, we're the boots on the ground. Thank you for helping us wake up. Thank you for letting us remember who we are. But this is where the real shift happens, right here. Right?
So I did some zero pointing with Morgan,
You
and that's
did.
how
I
that's how
didn't.
we spoke. Um, and the zero pointing. So in my redevelopment work with a social investment business that I told you about, so I designed that. That's where I'd come from. 0 point. So that was going to be in my redevelopment. That's what worked with the young people I work with, because obviously I say obviously, I shouldn't say that word. I work with young people
What
who had,
word? What word can't you say?
obviously,
You can say whatever you want.
obviously,
Yeah.
that all of the young people that I work with had been excluded from mainstream. Well, a lot of the young people I work with had been excluded. So when we come from a 0 point place with those young people, I never experienced what others experience with them. There was, should we say, complex behaviors and all of the other labels that come with these systems. But in that environment, in that 0 point environment, um, magic happened. And it's
Yeah.
not magic, it is magic, but it's natural. It's like the natural
Yeah.
abilities come out because they feel loved, they feel listened to. So the
Yeah.
0 pointing for me was like, okay, I'm connected to that as well. And also, it was a 0 pointing. There was something else that I was going to say then. Um, Transition specialist. So we was going to become the transition specialist because I recognised what we'd done for 7 years. I say 7 years. I worked for the council for 3 years before that, so it was 10 years. And what I recognised was actually everything we'd done with young people was for a transition, because there's many transitions in our lives. So whether that's a transition from primary to high school, whether that's a transition from high school to further learning and education systems, and there's many transitions. And what I'd scribbled out on my tangible resources, was that a young person has a pathway, but actually that pathway is, transition after transition after. There's many transitions and there's no failures, because I recognise that now we feel if we don't succeed at something, we're a failure. Not me, but people. And that needs to be taken away, because every experience we have is a learning experience and actually, a benefit for our growth.
Well, you just described us, really. We use the word transformation, and we are transformers. But
I love that.
as I'm listening to you, I'm going, now, wait a minute. Because everything's changing. Okay, so like I'm referring to us as transformers, and that's all great. But I'm saying that from the old place, right? I mean, I'm saying that like we had to transform because there was something wrong. It's like using the word healing. It's not even real anymore because it means something's wrong. There was nothing wrong. So I like the term a lot, transition, because what are we doing here? What do we do when we're not here? What do we do when we go on from here? We transition. And we go into a lifetime or an incarnation that's full of more transitions. You can call them cycles. You can call them whatever you want. We're transistors, which also, if you look at the of their meanings, a transistor is what? Receiving and emitting, giving and receiving, broadcasting, reception. I mean, I love this show. It's
Me
great.
too.
I used to couldn't stand it. No, I always liked it, but I liked doing other things, and I kept feeling like, and Morgan would say, "This is the best thing you do. You need to do this," and I'd be like, "I want to do some other things." Plus, anyone that tells me to do something, even if I want to do it, it makes me want to not do it. You know what I mean? Like, don't tell me, although,
Yeah. Yeah.
she is what she is to me. So it's a different kind of thing. I'm just making a joke, but really, we're transistors. I love it. What you're
And
teaching
this
me,
show's been my lifeline.
really? Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty fascinating. It really is. It really is. That's a fascinating thing. Yeah, I'm buzzing too. I'm buzzing. I don't even know how I'm sitting in this chair talking to these women now. The 2 days ago, I don't know if everybody noticed, but I had to turn the volume off and I leaned over because the energy got so strong, it made me sick. And it was a beautiful story, that one about the lady in Mexico, Emmanuel. Uh, oh my God. Yeah, this is awesome. So, yeah, I was going to say this whole thing, and again, I can't even get into the particulars. I can only feel the energy of it. But this whole thing about you were working with a certain set of eyes, you go through this blessing,
Yes.
and you come back with a new set of eyes, and you're doing the same thing, let's just say on this side, as you were on that side. But because you've expanded, your work's expanded, and I love it because it's a reflection of us. It's like you are the higher self, or you are the guardian angel, or you are the goddess who's working with the children of the earth, right? Like these kids that you work with, and you're working with them through what? Through your natural nature,
Yes.
as opposed to a bunch of stuff that somebody gave you and said, this is how you do it. And when they can't even do it, right? You must be blowing people's minds over there that are in the establishment. Seriously. They must be looking at you, even if they're not saying anything, going, holy shit, look at those kids responding to her. You're working with those like you as well.
Yes. Yes. So I've designed many programs, provisions, shall we say, but one of them is with the National Horse Racing Squad. So it's, all that middle class world. But the program that I've designed is where young people get to go to experience horses for 12 weeks, and they get that routine to be outdoors. So I have a young person who, just before my accident, I dropped her off at the horse program. And I've worked with her for 6 years, and she's still there. She's now working. She moved from a horse yard in Cheltenham, which is London, to another professional horse yard, and she's built all of those skills herself. But I was on her, shall we say, prison pathway, because a lot of those young people, in my experience, that is the pathway to prison. So I was in court with her maybe about 5.5 years ago, and through no fault of her own, emotional difficulties because of what she'd experienced through her parents. And this is obviously reoccurring with me. I've worked with many, many, many families with the same experience. But that young person was going on that pathway, and because she was then referred to Make Pathway, she's now doing amazing. And I was telling Morgan when I spoke to Morgan, that label case studies. I have many case studies, some of them who come from very middle class families, have police parents or some high jobs. I have a lot of young people who work, me and my very small team, that have just been amazing. They've done amazing because somebody's believed in them.
Yeah. And loved them and listened to them.
Yes.
It's the same thing everywhere you turn, right? I mean, it's the same thing. And somebody who takes them to the door, right? They don't control them. They take them to the door and say, look, this is what I have to share with you. Here's, some possibilities that I can vouch for. It's up to you. I love you no matter what happens. There is no winning or losing. I mean, this is a small example of how the whole thing works, right? I mean, it's so obvious now that I'm sitting here talking to you, even more obvious about how impossible this inverted matrix could ever have been. People talk about, oh, I'm a capitalist, it works, or I'm a democracy. Like, they're all fucked up. None of them are going to work. Show me where it worked. I love this one with America, or even Great Britain. Oh, I'm from America. Really? Have you looked into the history? Do you really understand what you're owning here? What you're identifying yourself as? I'm not a fucking American. I'm sorry. Period. Nothing against anything, but I am a galactic, universal, eternal soul. I'm not going to be pigeonholed, and cornered into anything. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from Morgan. And I said, I was told I was in the Great White Brotherhood. And she said, oh, that's interesting. But why would you want to limit yourself to that? And I went, oh, okay. So I am Mother Mary. I am Kuan Yin. I'm in all of it. It's like what? It's like we're the living library, but we have access to all that we came in with. And I love the way you use the word natural too, because it is natural. This is our natural nature.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, like looking at you, uh, and the embodiment that you are, a goddess in the flesh. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, so if you're starting to develop and align with the natural rhythms of your essence, then how long is it going to be before you get to a point of illumination and you're walking around fearless, no fear? Somebody walks up with a machine gun and says, you need to do this because the government says, or we're going to shoot you, to say, hey, okay,
Do
I'll be right.
it.
Yeah. How many times do we want to do this? I'll be right back and kick your ass. What? We've done that before, but people now listening to you too, people watching you re-enter the arena that you were in before the accident, the incident. They may not be saying anything. You know that meme that says, hey, keep doing what you're doing because people are watching, even if they don't let you know. That's what's happening. People are
Yes.
watching that lady in Australia I saw this morning stand up to 5 cops who told her, we are arresting you right now. She said, why? She said, because you're breaking the mandate. You're supposed to have a mask on. She says, I'm outside exercising, walking my dogs. You can't arrest me. Now, come on. Like, are you going to tell me that I mean, I've never seen that before. She didn't present. I mean, she just told him no. That was mind blowing to me. That was a sign of what's the times. Sign of the times.
And I recognize that people talk and judge things. And only a few weeks ago, I found out that the car hire company who we got the car from in Greece have been charged with manslaughter because the car wasn't roadworthy. The brakes were broken and the steering wheel. So nobody knows that, as in it's not been put out there, that's just information that's been shared with me.
Yeah.
So I recognise that people might have been talking, about the accident and made up their own stories, as people do. But
Yeah.
for me now, there's a little bit of truth coming through that actually, and that's yet to be shared.
Yeah. And see that, and see, this is you're right. You're right about this because, like, that's a small example of where no matter what people do, the truth's still going to come out. It's kind of like watching. I'm not trying to be funny, but it's a valid point. Everybody knows I don't have any politics, but to watch President Biden sitting next to the Israeli Prime Minister in a in a meeting where all the media is there, and to watch him fall asleep to the point where the guy stops looking at him and starts looking at the camera, and you can just see it. It's telepathy. You can just see it in his head. He's like going, "Oh my God, I can't believe this guy just fell asleep in front of the whole world." But this is what I'm talking about. In your situation, there was people, be it the people at the car hire place, be it whoever else was involved, that were covering their asses and hiding things. But look what happened.
Yes.
It's the same type of energetic force that allowed your family to come over uh, to Greece to be with you for 2 months.
Yeah.
It's the real virus. Like, how many people donated to that GoFundMe? You know, how many family members got to go? How many lives were touched? It's an
Yes.
energy. It's not about, oh, let me tell you how it works. This is the history of the world, and this is how you ascend. And it's not like that. It's wordless.
And the lady who travelled to Greece and stayed, I think she stayed in the church for the evening, but she travelled to Greece, and also she said that she was stood outside of a pub in Stockport where I used to work,
Hmm.
and the pub was called Full Shilling. Full Shilling. So she was told that she had a message to give to my family, that I was going to be all right and I was going to be a full shilling. And
Hmm.
that was the lady who travelled to Greece and said I'd been given the apple by God, and it all is quite, yeah, amazing. Just to make sure to let my family know, because they all didn't know what to expect, to just make them aware that actually I was going to be all right.
You know, and you look at this, the way energy plays out, what it looks like on the surface. So here's a person who, from the surface, had an incident, had uncomfortable and unfortunate, from the human perspective. I'm talking about from the surface, what we see, right? And then if I look at many other people, I look at myself and the whole family thing. You know, I wasn't in a car incident. I was uh, deep in the pits of hell, just like from the human perspective, like you were. Yet you have one situation where you have this soul virus, where there's a mobilization of this as a vortex, like Abraham Hicks says. All these people that donated, your family, I mean, think about all the people it touched. And then in another situation, you have the opposite. In both situations, what happens? The truth comes out. The natural nature of the soul rises to the top. It won't be stopped by it. Nothing can stop this. It's impossible. So you're just like a powerhouse. you you're a powerhouse. You're just amazing. I just hope, I don't use the word hope. It's just a space between doubt and faith. But I just know that you're just going to continue to shine and touch people, and I'll see you at the after party.
Yes, I'm excited for the after party. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm ready to snort some angel dust or
Me
angel
too.
trust. I'm kidding. I drink some archangel shots or something. I don't know.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm sitting here saying that, and I don't know what's happened to me in the last 90 days. That Sedona thing, or that period, I don't think it was just the Soulogy Fest. I think that was just, I don't know, something happened end of May, 1st of June. Everybody went into like cocoons, and now here we
Yes.
are. And, I was just, I called a friend of mine this morning, which I don't really talk to people, but I had to. She was at the Soulogy Fest, and we're pretty close. Uh, but we don't talk. I don't talk to people, but I say I got to talk to her. And I had the phone, and I was about to, and I opened my refrigerator, and I just started laughing because I started looking at it, and all it is organic vegetables and fruit, water and coconut water. And I'm like going, who would have ever thought that Todd would have, you know, given up the whiskey, the beer, the weed. I mean, it's like, and I'm not advocating anything. I'm just trying to make a point. And the point is that our natural nature will not be denied. We cannot be stopped, even if we try to stop ourselves.
Yes.
It's just
I
not going to happen.
All of the food I eat has changed. I'm vegetarian. I'm
Mm,
having aloe water, coconut. Everything you talk about, it's like, yeah, doing that.
mm,
I'm doing
yeah,
that.
yeah. And you mentioned Tai Chi, and I have always
Yes.
wanted to do that. I've done it a couple times. A friend of mine sent me some videos. He lives in Liverpool, and he's into it. So he has a whole set of
Wow.
that I looked at. But I have a beautiful place to do it back here. And then, I'm thinking when I got this morning, I thought, I'm going to get out there and do some Tai Chi. Nobody can see me, like I'm even concerned that people are going to like, what's he doing? But then you mention it. First thing
Yes.
you mention it. So it's,
And I only
yeah.
joined it last week, but Graham is part of this family as well. He lives in Glastonbury. So I joined his
Glastonbury.
Tai Chi. Glastonbury. I joined his
Glastonbury.
Tai Chi, and it's all can be done on Zoom and online. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, that's definitely for me.
Now you make me want to go see my family. I want to be a Texan speaking monk. What the hell are you saying? Yeah. Oh yeah, this is great. This is fantastic. First show of 3 today. Two more, I believe. Yeah,
I'll be watching them.
two more divine feminines. We have no idea what we're going to get, but I do feel like this being the first day of September, 9 is completion, and you're the first one, and
My
we'll do it
do-
again.
my door number is 19. It's been 19. I've lived here 15 years. Yes.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
and best to you with your developing work and everything else. And thank you for showing up, and thank you for being you. And you're beautiful and powerful and amazing. And you're just you're like a lighthouse. You're like
Ditto. Thank you.
you're like a lighthouse. Love you.
Bye bye.
Peace out. Be back in, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes, I think. Something like that. I'll see you later. We'll do it again. Thank you.